As you guys know, I rarely bring a guest back for the second time, but this guy, I think, needed an update. If you are not following Zeek Arkham on X, on Instagram, you're missing out. So I wanted to reintroduce him to the audience. And then for those of you who saw Zeke and I talk a couple of years ago, I think, I thought you guys needed an update. So my friend Zeek Arkham, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be back.
I think the last time we had you, I recall, I think you were on your phone sitting in your daughter's bedroom or something, trying to, get a decent picture. And you have gone from kind of just being a guy on X with a few opinions to a very solid conservative influencer. You bring a lot of great commentary, and you also bring a lot of pride for those of us who are law enforcement and retired law enforcement. You do our profession proud.
Thank you so much. Yeah, when you first spoke to me, I think you were one of the first to interview me. I think somewhere in the top three to interview me. So I didn't have a setup the way I had it now. Yeah, I was in my daughter's bedroom trying to find a quiet space in my house so I could do the interview. And I transitioned from that to, okay, let me have a space now for myself. And I have my own podcast and my voice is carried. And I thank everyone who's followed me, everyone who's amplified my voice. I thank God for giving me this voice. So it's definitely been a growth, and I appreciate that.
So I'm going to ask you the question I ask every cop that comes on the show. Why'd you become a cop?
That it was actually I fell backwards into it to be completely honest. I applied for the local police department and I applied for the fire department. I also applied for federal agencies. I applied to be in the Secret Service. And it was basically just a matter of who called me first. And thankfully, the police department called me, or else I'd be the Secret Service agent with attitude or the firefighter with attitude. Cop with attitude rolls off the tongue a bit better. So I'm glad the local police department called me first, and I haven't looked back. And it's been a great ride. You truly do have a front seat to the best show on earth. People don't realize that you're there. You're standing there. You get to partake in everything. You get to have access into places where a lot of the public doesn't, and it's been a great ride.
So, Zeke, when did you come into this persona where you thought that maybe people would enjoy your opinions? When did you become the cop with attitude? And tell us how that all began.
I forgot the exact trial that was going on. And I remember reading these comments. And I'm saying to myself, these people have it all wrong. There was one guy who said he was a cop that had it completely wrong. I don't know if he really is a cop or not, but he had it completely wrong. If he's a cop, he worked in the most Keystone Cop, Reno 911 area you've ever seen in your life. And I said, he's got it all wrong. So I looked around and I said, you know what? No one's coming out with actual facts. Everyone's been going off of what they watched on TV, watching the movies. You know, you got the guys who are the Law and Order veterans, the Law and Order Special Victims Unit veterans who've watched 5, 10 seasons of Law and Order and now think they have the exact story. I said, they've got it all wrong. So I said, let me, who've actually been in a police locker room, who's been in a police car, who hangs out with cops, tell the complete story. So I just started speaking. And I said, a cop with attitude, because I'm not going to be nice about it. I'm not going to be friendly about it. I'm not the Mayberry cop who wants to go and whistle with people. I'm going to bring it truthfully, and I'm going to bring it to people's faces. So I said, I'm going to be the cop with attitude. And I just started posting. And I started responding to people. And I started sort of just putting myself out there. And slowly but surely, people started following. I get asked all the time, what can I do to increase my follow count? And I always tell people, just be yourself, be authentic. And I think that's what drew people to me, just the fact that I was authentic, I was raw. I wasn't trying to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to tell you the truth. If the truth hurts, I'm going to keep bringing the pain. And that's where I am now. People started saying, you should start a podcast. You should really speak to people about what goes on. So I said, okay, I'll start a podcast. And thanks to people like you, Betsy, thanks to other people, I got the push I needed, and here I am. My podcast has a lot of ears to it, a lot of views, and like I said, I'm so thankful for that.
Well, and you kind of transitioned in from, from just talking about law enforcement issues to fairly quickly talking about politics, conservatism, and you became a black conservative on X before it was, the super cool thing to do. Now all the cool kids are doing it. And how did that transition occur? Because I got to tell you, like when I was a young cop, we didn't talk about politics. You really did not talk about politics. We were taught that in the academy. And I sat next to people in roll call for 20 years that I didn't know anything about their politics until way later in my career.
Well, I always say if you're a cop and you don't discuss politics, then you're missing out on a vital part of the job because that's what the job is nowadays, politics. Mayors, we see it directly. You have DAs who don't want to prosecute, and you have mayors and governors who want to treat criminals better than they do the victims. You're a cop. You're directly in the line of fire of this, so to speak. This directly involves you. So when you have someone like New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, who wants to hug criminals and wants to push Marxism and wants to demonize cops, that directly affects you. When you have a presidential candidate who thinks she's law enforcement but has done nothing but literally hug criminals and talk about how proud she is of them and support criminals, this directly affects you. So if you are not involved in politics, then you are missing out on a key function of how to do your job. When you have the country shut down and now your orders are to go into people's houses and basically violate their Fourth Amendment, you have to know what you're saying yes to. You have to know what kind of orders you're given and what goes against your oath and what goes against the Constitution and what goes against the Bill of Rights. So, as much as I talk about being a conservative, I kind of refer to myself now more as a conservatarian because there are things about the Libertarian Party I like, there are things about the Conservative Party I like. So I kind of just, find a happy medium in between them both. I'm not a leftist. I'll tell you that much. I'm completely not one. But I try to pick and choose between conservatives and libertarians what I like. But I tell cops all the time, you have to remember, you took an oath to the Constitution. You took an oath to the people of this country. You did not take an oath to a specific politician, whether you agree with them or not. You have to be able to discern right and wrong. You have to be able to say, sir, ma'am, I cannot follow that order. That is a direct violation. So, as much as I try to advocate for cops, I also try to bring a realistic view and say our job is very political.
I'm so glad you said that because that's one of the things that my husband and I, as we travel around the country and train cops, one of the things we've been doing for quite a while is we start every training class with the Pledge of Allegiance to remind them of this country and remind them of their oath to this Constitution that we all revere. And again, what you said is so important that we have got to pay attention, not just nationally, but as a cop, you're either working for, a mayor or a city council or a governor or a sheriff and a county board. You need to pay attention to their politics and their beliefs and all of that, because that directly affects, your work life. And then, of course, very often, your personal life. Now, you are a very Trumpian guy. You came out early for Donald Trump, both times. And I know you get a lot of pushback on that because you're Black. Talk about that.
Well, my race doesn't discern who I vote for. I remember I had a discussion with someone a while ago, and he said to me, you have to remember you were Black before you were a conservative, and you were Black before you're a cop. And I said, yeah, but the truth was around before anything. So if I support someone like Donald Trump, it's because the truth is out there. You look at who supports us. You look at Donald Trump, who goes and he shakes cops' hands, whether he gets recognition for it or not. You look at someone like Trump who supports cops, whether he gets recognition for it or not, whether he gets pushback or not. he sits and stands with us. He sits and he shakes our hands. He sits and he's called the family members of cops where the cops have been killed in the line of duty. Kamala Harris, just looking back at the recent election, doesn't do that. She'd rather literally hug people like Jacob Blake. She'd rather start a Minnesota Freedom Fund so that rioters can get out of jail. So, when people say, oh, you can't support someone like Trump because you're black, first of all, yes, I can, because my race doesn't dictate my actions, and I'm not going to be beholden to something that can work against me later on. And I'm going to go with the truth. Trump is the truth, whether anyone likes it or not, whether anybody wants to think, oh, he's going to take away our rights. No, he's not. He's going to make sure this country gets better. We're going to be unburdened by what we've been burdened by over the past 4 years. So when I came out early for Trump, it was because, listen, I'm going to take a stand. I'm going to support someone who supports me, who supports all law enforcement, and I'm going to support someone who supports this country, where, like, love it or hate it, this is the best country we've got on this planet. This is the best shot any of us have at true freedom in this world. And we were at a bona fide crossroad during this past election, whether we're going to go down the path of freedom or we're going to go down a path of putting America last. And thankfully, and I keep saying this, we did good. Thankfully, this country voted in the right direction. And for law enforcement, we've got 4 years to really get ourselves together and hopefully make a return to when policing was good and we could actually be cops instead of being handcuffed, so to speak, by a lot of these local politicians.
Now we're coming into the holidays here, and I've seen so many commentators talking about, boy, you can't sit at the same table if you didn't agree on the last election. And you're very open about how you grew up, that you have some family members that don't necessarily share your conservative views. How do you deal with that?
Personally, I can sit at a table with anyone. If you voted for Kamala Harris or not, I can sit at a table with you. But I can't sit at a table. Who I can't sit at a table with is someone who is anti-cop, because I did this and I put food on the table with this profession for a long time. Who I can't sit at a table with is someone who is racist, who is not going to like me just because of the color of my skin. I'm not going to sit at a table with someone who doesn't love this country, who actively wants to destroy it because they've got this wonderful idea of Marxism, which has never been fruitful ever on this planet. And matter of fact, it's been the opposite. If you want to sit and you want to have a discussion, I've had discussions with people before who were racist, who hated cops, who were Marxists, who wanted to push their own agenda. Have I spoken with them before? Sure. I would find it really hard to break bread with them unless they were willing to listen to what I had to say and were willing to accept facts over their beliefs. But am I going to sit with a table with them and just think everything's hunky dory and just go ahead and pass the cranberry sauce? Yeah, probably not, just because at some point something's going to come up and then it's going to turn into a fracas. But if I can sit and talk to them, I'll sit at the table with them and talk to them. But it's not going to be something that's a joyous occasion. As far as family, I do have family that are anti-cop. I've got a sister-in-law who loves putting on her personal Facebook page about how she's raising a black son and she's got to teach this black son how to be safe around cops. And my rebuttal to her is always, well, then you're going to be teaching your son, your black son, how to be cautious around his black cop uncle, huh? Is that the conversation you're going to have? And of course she's like, no, I'm not. I don't mean you. Well, yes, you do. So I mean, it's during the holidays. I guess you just have to, in some cases, you have to, I guess, pick and choose who your family is. I've always been taught family isn't just blood. Family are the people who worry about your family, who pick your daughter up from her dance classes, who make sure your wife is okay coming home from dinner, who if you were at work and you called them they'd be at your house within 5 minutes to make sure that everybody's okay. One of my old partners, who's my daughter's godfather, I love him to death because if I'm at work, if I'm stuck at work, I can't get home, I know I can call him and he is going to show up at my house, guns blazing, to make sure my family's okay. To me, he's family, to more so than any blood relative I have. And that's because he does stuff like that. He knows I do it for him. So I guess during this holiday season, I guess people just have to remember family isn't just blood.
That is very well said. You were on the front lines of 2020, 2021. You dealt with the pandemic as a cop, then you dealt with the riots as a cop. Um, as we look forward, what's your takeaway from all that, and where do you think we are headed into 2025?
I had an uncle that whenever I was feeling bad, whenever I was feeling kind of low, I would call him. And he would always tell me, baby boy, there's gold in them hills. Basically, just meaning that there's good in our future. During 2020, during 2021, the quote unquote summer of love riots,
Hmm.
we had, like I said, we had a candidate who openly supported the rioters. We had a candidate who she was on the side of the criminals because it was the safest place for her to be. She couldn't be on the side of law enforcement because that's not the woke thing. That's not the appropriate leftist thing. You've got to be against the cops. You've got to be against the authority. With Marxism, you're either the oppressed or the oppressors. So she couldn't put herself on the side of the oppressors. She had to put herself on the side of the oppressed. The fact that there are cops out there who would turn around and then vote for her just mystifies me. I've spoken to cops who said, no, I'm still voting for Kamala Harris because I want this black woman, or so she says black. I want this black woman to be president. And I'm like, well, did you not experience everything we experienced in 2020? Weren't you standing right next to me when we were fighting off rioters? Weren't you right next to me when we were trying to put out burning police cars? And you still turn around and vote for this woman who would welcome this, who picked a vice president, who stopped the National Guard from going in there and calming his state down and bringing peace to his state. You stand with this? So yeah, I guess my answer is as cops we always have to be vigilant, and we always have to be looking forward, and we always have to remember the past. We always have to remember who supported us when all the chips are down. With the next couple of years coming up, 2025 all the way up to 2028, I look forward to it. I look forward to where this country is going to go. I look forward to the prosperity this country is going to have. I look forward to America taking its rightful place as the head of this planet. Trump is not even in office yet, and already countries are calling him and going, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna give peace a shot. We're gonna stop attacking these people. Let's bring everything to the table. Let's try to settle things up." And that's strong leadership.
What do you think mass deportation is going to look like?
It's going to look like us getting our country back. It's going to look like us getting our country back. It's going to look like us putting in the same standards as other countries have on their borders. That's why I could never figure out, why are we having these open borders? Why are we having this border crisis where if I personally, as an American citizen, were to go into Mexico, they would catch me and throw me right back. If I were to go into Canada and just decide, hey, listen, I'm here. I demand a cell phone. I demand an apartment. They would laugh at me and throw me right back into the United States. You look at the vacation passport situations you got going on in other countries. They ask you, why are you here? What are you doing here? How long are you staying? It's not, you can't just show up and be like, oh, asylum, I'm here, so there's a process. So why do we have this open border problem? We are the strongest, most powerful nation in the world, and yet we've got this glaring hole in our system. And I'm for it. You get yourself a big bus, one of those long school buses from like back in the day that was like half a block long. You get one of those school buses. Hey, all right, everybody get back in. Everybody get in. You in. And drive them to the border and say, hey, listen, you can come back, but do it the right way. I have a brother-in-law, my wife's sister's husband. He's Scottish, and he's coming here from Scotland. He's immigrating here from Scotland. He's doing it the right way. He's got his paperwork. He's showing that he's a business owner. He's showing that he is going to be an asset to the United States. And to him, he's more insulted than anyone. And he compared it to the lines at Disney World. He said, you know how you go to Disney World, you go to Disneyland, and you stand online for an hour, and you get right up to the ride, and you're getting ready to get on the ride, and they bring someone out of nowhere, and that person takes your spot, and they get on the ride before you, and then they bring more people, and they get on that ride before you. That's what he compared it to.
Absolutely. Zeke, I got about 50 more questions, but our time is up. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, X, at Zeek Arkham, ZeekArkham. I have the same handle for Instagram. I put my video rants on Instagram, and I put my written rants on X, and sometimes the world's cross in between. So you can follow me on either platform, and you'll get pretty much all of me.
And I want to tell people that your Instagram and your X are very different, and they're both worth following. I literally go through your Instagram stories sometimes while drinking coffee, and I laugh so hard I snort coffee out of my nose. There's no bigger compliment than that.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for spending time with us today. And if you'd like more information about the National Police Association, visit us at nationalpolice.org.
Every day, the brave men and women of law enforcement put their lives on the line to keep us safe. But they need our help to continue their mission. Activist politicians, progressive prosecutors, the ACLU, and the rest of the anti-police forces receive millions in donations from extremist pro-criminal elements like George Soros and woke corporations. The National Police Association is fighting them in courts around the country, including the United States Supreme Court, defending officers who are being attacked for doing their jobs. Additionally, the National Police Association works year-round to pass tough-on-crime legislation to put and keep criminals behind bars. Consider going to nationalpolice.org and donating to keep us in the fight. Together we can win. That is nationalpolice.org.